At the beginning of the movie, we see a pregnant woman choking. She then collapses and loses consciousness, and her body levitates in the air, signaling a mysterious and ominous possession. Three days earlier, Jaka and his wife Rika are returning to Jaka's village from Jakarta, and Jaka mentions that it has been 20 years since he last visited. He informs Rika that their first stop will be at Recap's house, who has been overseeing the property since Jaka's mother passed away. At Recap's, we learn that Recap has informed Jaka that someone is interested in buying the house. So Jaka is here to sell the house, and he came early to clean the house first, as it is long abandoned. Recap resides with his grandmother, and upon Jaka and Rika's introduction, Grandma holds Rika's hand and tells her that a pregnant woman should always be careful, and warns her against breaking any taboos. Recap then brings them to the property, and while looking around, Jaka feels as if someone is watching him from inside the house. The scene transitions to the past, revealing a woman named Nenden in the same house. Her father approaches and advises her against clipping her nails at night, citing it as a taboo. He informs her that her husband is on national duty as a soldier, implying that she need not wait for him in such attire. Nenden says her husband should have come home a week ago, but her father urges her to be patient. Once he departs, Nenden resumes the task of clipping her nails. Returning to the present, Jaka discovers that the house lacks electricity. However, Recap reassures them he will arrange for an electrician to come the next day. After Recap departs, Jaka and Rika commence cleaning the house. Jaka focuses on arranging the bedroom, while Rika tackles cleaning the bathroom. And during this, she observes some hair in the bathroom, which she collects and disposes of in the dustbin. However, she again finds the hair in a corner, which she disposes again. That night, Jaka discovers Rika clipping her nails, and he cautions her against doing so, citing the superstition that someone will die if nails are clipped at night. Rika questions how a journalist like him can believe in such things, and Jaka responds by revealing that he is currently unemployed. The following morning, Rika hears the sound of a woman crying in their house. She notices that the source is in the room adjacent to theirs, and as she attempts to listen more closely, she unexpectedly falls backward. We see that on the other side, Nenden is crying while gazing at her husband's photo and repeatedly banging her head against the wall, and it is revealed that her husband was martyred. Later, Jaka tries to unlock the door to that room using a wire, but Rika suggests that they search for the keys instead. Jaka asks her to be patient and proposes to wait for Recap so they can ask him about the keys. Rika claims she was not dreaming, and she is sure she heard someone clipping nails and there was a weird sound on the wall. Jaka starts searching for the keys, and in the process, he discovers a drawer containing items emitting a foul odor. Among these belongings, he finds a photo of Nenden, and he reveals to Rika that Nenden is his sister. Rika asks him, "But why are those things here?" To which he says he doesn't remember anything, but it feels like something happened to his sister. Recap then arrives with the electrician, and Jaka tells him that he needs more time to clean up the house. Recap says he will inform the party, and after a while, when Rika comes out to discard the items, Recap appears somewhat concerned. She then asks Recap if he knows Jaka's family, to which he says his grandma knows them, and all he knows is that Jaka's father is a well-respected member of the community. When she questions him about Nenden, Recap shares that he only knows she was a renowned Sindan singer in the past, but that was quite a while ago. Jaka then asks Recap if he knows of any locksmith in the area, and Recap assures him that he will bring one tomorrow. Later, Jaka enters the kitchen and advises Rika not to overwork as she is pregnant. However, he is taken aback when he discovers Rika outside, and as he turns back, the Rika who was just behind him mysteriously disappears. Later that night, Jaka finds a box in his room containing peculiar items. Meanwhile, Rika notices split ends in her hair and decides to trim it. She then inquires about the adjacent room, to which Jaka responds that he informed Recap earlier, and a locksmith will be brought in tomorrow. Rika expresses a sense of strangeness, pointing out he said something strange happened to his sister, and now only her room cannot be opened. The scene shifts to Nenden, who is trimming her hair in the washroom, and her mother knocks on the door, urging her to open it. Nenden eventually emerges, revealing her altered appearance, and her mother is visibly shocked. Nenden explains that she promised Hendra a surprise upon his return. Her mother informs her that Hendra is gone, but unconvinced, Nenden insists he is alive and will return. At that moment, Nenden's father arrives and forcibly leads her away. He pushes her into her room, locks the door, and tells her mother that he is a well-respected man in this village. He fears the consequences if it becomes known that his daughter is crazy, and insists that she must maintain her image as a Sindan singer. Suddenly, Rika wakes up seeing a pocong on her bed, but it turns out to be a pillow. Meanwhile, Jaka is engrossed in reading his mother's diary, discovering that their father's attitude towards Nenden was cruel, but he did that because he loved her. Rika then comes there and tells him that she had a nightmare and thinks something is wrong with the house. Jaka asks her to be patient, as they will soon leave this house, but she asks him if he really doesn't remember anything about his family. Jaka recalls that when he was 5 years old, his grandma picked him up. Despite his pleas for his mom and dad to let him stay, they didn't grant permission. The following day, Jaka attempts to peer into Nenden's room through a window. As he observes, the closet door opens, but he is suddenly startled by a rat, causing him to fall. Shechep rushes over with the locksmith, assisting Jaka to his feet. He introduces Jaka to the locksmith, but Jaka senses that he is the same electrician who came the day before. Meanwhile, in the washroom, Rika is trimming her hair. As she bends down to pick up the trimmed strands, she hears the sound of someone else trimming hair, and more hair falls to the floor. When she looks up, the ghostly figure of Nenden appears behind her. But when Rika quickly turns around, no one is there. The tap then suddenly opens on its own, causing Rika to get frightened, but she gets up and turns it off. Now, as she is leaving, she gets terrified seeing Nenden behind her in the mirror and runs away from there. Outside, Jaka asks her what's wrong, but seeing Chechep and the locksmith there, she decides not to say anything. However, later, she insists that she saw a woman in the bathroom, so they can pay Chechep and let him take care of everything. Jaka says there is only one more day left, and once they receive the money tomorrow, they will go far away from here. Rika insists on leaving immediately, and just then, the locksmith informs them that the door is now open. Jaka enters the room and discovers a chain inside, and the scene then transitions to Nenden, who is bound to that chain. She is crying and singing a song, and then suddenly, she begins laughing like crazy. She screams to let her go, and we see her mother sitting outside, hearing her screams and writing a diary. Finally, unable to resist any longer, Lilis goes to Nenden's room. Nenden expresses her desire to leave, mentioning that someone is waiting for her. Lilis, unable to bear her daughter's condition, unlocks the chain, and Nenden hugs her, and tears flow as she apologizes for everything. Back in the present, Jaka discovers a piece of paper in Nenden's room, with something written on it. Meanwhile, Rika hears Chechep and Locksmith talking about some incense and coffee, and she asks Chechep about it. Locksmith explains that the villagers still believe in such things, and it's known as an offering to calm an angry evil spirit. It's like a ritual. If the spirit is not appeased, it will continue to cause trouble. Rika says, since they came to this house, something strange happened, and asks Chechep if he is sure he doesn't know anything about Jaka's family. Jaka insists that he doesn't know anything, and when Rika inquires about Nenden, Chechep spills the coffee and hastily instructs the locksmith not to say anything. However, Rika asks him is there anything else she should know about this house? The scene shifts to the past, where Lilis discovers that Nenden is missing from her room. Frantically, she rushes outside and finds Nenden climbed on a tree and standing on a branch. Lilis pleads with her to come down, but Nenden smiles, jumps from the tree, and tragically hangs herself. Returning to the present, Jaka notices that Rika is visibly disturbed and inquires about the cause. She asks him if he genuinely doesn't remember anything about his family, or if he is choosing not to tell her. Jaka questions why he would keep it a secret from her, and in response, she asks that he doesn't even remember that Nenden committed suicide in this house. Jaka is shocked to learn that she is aware of Nenden's suicide, and Rika insists that something is unsettling in the house, urging them to leave immediately. Jaka contends that the house is their only hope, but Rika suggests her parents are willing to lend them money. Jaka says before they even married, he told her they would both be independent, and she knew that if he borrowed money from her parents, he would lose his dignity. Rika questions him about her and their child, to which he reassures her that he does care for them, and that's why they are here. Rika angrily starts leaving from there, and suddenly the lights switch off automatically. Later that night, Jaka is startled by strange noises emanating from the radio. He picks it up, attempting to listen closely, and becomes terrified as he hears Nenden calling his name. Backing away in fear, Nenden's ghost materializes behind him and vanishes after uttering his name. Jaka then spots her standing in a room corner, but the voice from the radio interrupts, and Nenden disappears from there. Jaka gets very scared by this experience, and then Nenden appears behind him and falls on him and starts strangling him. However, Rika arrives to find Jaka on the floor, and Nendian has vanished. Terrified, Jaka gets up and acknowledges that Rika is right, and they are leaving tomorrow morning. The scene shifts to the past, where Dotting explains to Lilith that he was terrified this would happen, prompting him to lock Nenden in the room. He urges her that they must leave this house and start a new life with Jaka. Later, while taking a bath, Dotting becomes terrified when he hears Nenden's voice calling him. Frightened, he starts looking around, and suddenly Nenden appears in front of him, causing him to stumble and hit his head on a rock, leading to his tragic death. Back to the present, Jaka goes to Nenden's room, where the cupboard door opens on its own. He then finds a toy on the floor, and as he picks it up, he hears Nenden crying and singing a song. He grabs a lamp and comes out to investigate, and meanwhile, Rika finds Jaka is not in bed. She gets up to go out, but the door gets shut. Outside, the swing on the tree begins swinging on its own, and then Nenden's ghost flies into the house. Nenden then manifests in Rika's room, and as Jaka attempts to enter the house, the door shuts before him. When he tries another entry point, he stumbles, and a stick pierces into his leg. Meanwhile, Nenden's ghost slowly advances toward Rika, but before she can reach her, Jaka breaks a window, enters the room, and attempts to calm Rika down. He tells her that Nenden's spirit has to be calmed, and he has found the way. He shows her his mom's note, explaining that they must collect all the items mentioned and recite the spell. They then start gathering the required items, and the scene transitions to the past, where Jaka's mom is preparing for the same ritual. She goes to fetch the wedding dress, one of the required items, but at that moment, she realizes that Nenden's ghost has arrived. Terrified, as Lilith comes out of the room, she hears Nenden's plea for help, claiming she is in pain. The ghost then materializes in front of Lilith, and the scene cuts with Lily's screams. Here, Jaka informs Rika that the wedding dress is missing, and Rika questions if anyone has ever performed this ritual before. Shortly after, Rika starts hearing disturbing sounds and begins screaming in distress. Confused and scared, Jaka attempts to calm her down. However, when Rika pricks her nails into his arm, Jaka has a sudden recollection of a past moment when Nenden did the same thing to him when he was a kid, and because of this behavior, their dad chained Nenden and locked her in the room. Jaka tells Rika that he knows where to go, but Rika is in no condition to think or understand anything. Jaka runs away from there and goes to the storeroom to find something, where he falls into a hidden pit. Meanwhile, Nenden, who has possessed Rika, attempts to harm her, and after Rika becomes unconscious, her body begins to levitate in the air and turns black. In the pit, Jaka discovers a box containing the wedding dress, but only then he sees Rika standing above with an axe in her hand. She jumps into the pit and attempts to attack him, but Jaka dodges her. He tries to climb out of the pit, but Rika grabs him and pulls him back and attempts to strangle him. Jaka locates a bottle there and strikes Rika with it, rendering her unconscious. Jaka emerges from the pit with the wedding dress and hurries back to the house. He promptly initiates the ritual, and Nenden, while approaching him, tries to interrupt and scare him. But Jaka continues the ritual, and suddenly everything becomes silent. Jaka then hears Rika crying, and assuming that the ritual was successful, he goes to her and assures her that it's all over. However, he soon realizes that it was Nenden's trick to halt the ritual, and he gets knocked down by a table. Possessed Rika enters the house, picks up a broken piece of chair, and advances towards him. Despite her attempts to harm him, Jaka manages to stop her and fights for his life. During the struggle, Jaka continues reading the prayers and ultimately succeeds in expelling Nenden's spirit from Rika's body. The following day, Cheche brings the buyers to Jaka, and Jaka transfers the documents of the house to them. Jaka and Rika then leave the house with Chechep, and on the way, when Jaka reads his mom's diary, he discovers and remembers that Nenden was pregnant when she died. Continuing to read, Jaka discovers that all of Nenden's misfortune stems from her breaking the taboos, a tradition passed down from their forefathers. Jaka recollects that Rika also broke all the taboos, and suddenly, Chechep stops the car, informing Jaka that this is where he gets off. As they exit the car, Rika notices Chechep's grandma, who gives her a strange look, and to Rika's horror, she finds herself bleeding. Thanks for facing the frights with us. If you survived this video, drop a like, summon that subscribe button, and brace yourself for more horror. Until next time, stay spooked.